Among the vast amount of cities in the US, there are a plethora of problems. Many times, these issues may seem bigger than ourselves, but they don't always have to be. You can start by making change at the local level. Volunteer at an animal shelter, donate books, visit the elderly, or mentor a child in need.
Like dolphins can swim.
And just because your actions may seem small, doesn't mean the impact you make is too.
Though nothing will keep us together, we can beat them.
Whether you know it or not, every individual has the ability to make a change in his or her community. You don't have to work for the government, you don't need a PhD. All you need is a voice, the ability to act, because the change starts with you.
How we can be heroes just for one day. I will be king, and you will be queen. Though nothing will drive us away, how we can be heroes.
Across the United States, there are over 4,000 shelters, which help care for the 10 million dogs and cats which enter shelters each year in the United States. Out of these 10 million dogs and cats, about 4 to 6 million are euthanized annually, due to a lack of homes or people willing to adopt. Animal shelters provide animals with food, water, medical care, and help pets get adopted. These organizations are necessary to help prevent taken animals that would otherwise not have a home. Animal rescue and education services exist across the greater Atlanta community, with the hope of reducing and caring for these animals which end up in shelters. Animal Rescue Dog Cafe is the only nonprofit organization that helps to reduce the flow of animals into shelters by addressing the root causes of the problem, animal education. To better understand the charity, I talked with Aaron Fisher, founder of Atlanta Rescue Dog Cafe.
We bring certified therapy dogs that are people's pets. They're spoiled, they're in homes, they're well loved, and we bring the pets along with the volunteer owner handlers who become certified therapy dog teams into schools, to libraries, to boys and girls clubs, homeless shelters, you name it. And our whole mission is through education and our programs, teaching people, especially children, how to feel safe around animals, how to be kind to them, and how we can responsibly care for pets in a way that keeps pets in homes, off the streets, and out of shelters. So basically, preventing pets from ever becoming rescues in the first place.
Like many organizations, COVID-19 was a tremendous challenge, as all of their events had been in person up until this point.
Like so many organizations, COVID presented a tremendous challenge to us. Before the pandemic, all of our programs and events had been in person in and around the Atlanta area, where we were working with about 500 participants a month. Like many businesses, nonprofits, we had our uh-oh moment. What do we do? How do we stay relevant? How do we continue to offer programs to have impact, be relevant, and achieve our mission? We realized that much of the world was hungry for virtual content and programming. There was libraries, schools, veterinary programs, scout troops, even companies that wanted to do engaging programs with their employees. So we pivoted, we made our programs available virtually in about August 2020. And since then, we actually doubled our month-over-month impact to the point now where our programs reach more than 1,000 participants a month, and not just here in Atlanta, but well beyond.
Another organization that helps animals is Paws Atlanta, a no-kill animal shelter that cares for hundreds of animals each year and ensures that all animals will end up finding a home. To learn more about their initiatives, I spoke with Joe Labriola, current executive director of Paws Atlanta.
Pause Atlanta started back in 1966. A concerned group of citizens that were worried about the high euthanasia rate in Georgia got together and said, there's got to be a better way. So they started uh, bake sales, car washes, just all sorts of creative ways to raise money, purchase a piece of property to open the DeKalb Humane Society. And it was a place that they wanted to make sure that animals would have a place to stay without being euthanized until they were placed in forever homes. And so for more than 57 years, our mission has been to have people help pets and pets help people.
The organization works with hundreds of animals per year, receiving an intake of animals from a variety of sources.
Most recently, I would say in the past 2 years, the most significant way that we get animals is through owner surrenders. So these are people who, for whatever reason, can no longer care for their animals. They surrender them to us. We also work with a number of shelters in the metro area and in some of the outlying, more rural animal shelters. We do something called shelter pulls, where we'll go and pull animals from their shelter if they're over capacity, or a lot of the rural shelters are kill shelters. If they can't place animals, they're going to put them down. So we'll go rescue them from the rescues and bring them to ours. Third way is there are stray animals that find their way to our shelter, a lot of feral cats. We have feral communities in the area. And then probably the saddest way that we get animals are dumps, where people just pull into the parking lot, open the door and push animals out. Or, my staff will show up in the morning and there'll be a dog tied to the front fence.
Like for Atlanta Rescue Dog Cafe, COVID was also one of the largest challenges for Pause Atlanta, forcing them to restructure their entire organization from the ground up.
When things went into lockdown, we shut down our adoption program, our foster program, and our public vaccine clinics. So, a couple of the key sources of revenue into our organization just completely disappeared overnight. And, I tasked my team with how can we reopen those programs in a way that's safe for the staff and safe for the public. And the team got creative. We went to appointment-only type of an environment and kind of totally re-engineered the way that we delivered those programs to the public. And we're able to open that back up. And I'm really pleased that it worked as well. It worked better than we thought it was going to work. And we were able to resume those critical services to the community. And I know the first public clinic that we had, the cars were backed up out on Covington Highway for about 3/4 of a mile. You would have thought we were giving away gold bars. But it really showed us the pent-up demand that people really needed that service, and they were happy that we were opened back up.
The organization has implemented a variety of special programs designed to increase their outreach and increase the flow of animals out of their shelter. Recently, the company hired a full-time animal behavior specialist to work with the dogs through their behavioral issues so that they are more likely to be adopted.
I'd like to think that my staff doesn't give up. They never give up on an animal. So we had a dog named Carrie. She came to us in September of 2020. She was a pup. And the way that she was described was playful but mischievous, which meant that she climbed out of her crate or her outdoor run all the time. She was a fence climber. She went into a foster home. She came back a few days later. She was reacting poorly towards the owners and acting poorly towards the dog they had. Came back into our facility, got adopted out towards the end of January of 2021, came back 3 weeks later being reactive again. The more that she spent time with us, the more her behavior degraded. And things that you start to see is jumping and spinning when she was in her outdoor run. So you could tell that there was a lot of anxiousness, a lot of anxiety. She was one of our very first long-term guests, and what we did was we had a trainer that we were working with. She was doing some pro bono work for us. She came and spent time and focused on that dog. And eventually we were able to get her adopted out in November of 2022. So she had been with us over 2 years. But because we focused on behavioral corrections and really focused on getting the dog the help that it needed, Carrie's been in that home since November of 2022. So we're going on 7 months now. And, the last check-in we got from her parents is she's settled in, she's a member of the family, and everybody is happy. So
many animal shelters suffer from diseased, overcrowded situations, filled with animals that aren't adoptable due to cognitive issues created by the stressful shelter environment. Both Paws Atlanta and Atlanta Rescue Dog Cafe hope to remedy these problems, but they can't do it alone. Only with support from the public can these organizations create lasting change that results in a better life for hundreds of animals. Providing proper educational opportunities to children is the #1 priority for the United States government, as programs such as East Blast has allowed communities such as in Buford Highway, Georgia, to raise over $360 million for education. In fact, the schools in the area have been ranked quite highly in regards to the efficiency of their education. Although there is a discrepancy between the quality of schools between urban and more rural areas, like Thomasville Heights, where children have limited access to good quality educational institutions, which reveals the major underfunding problem in the United States. While many nonprofit organizations have taken steps to garner support for more educational reform, their efforts would take too long for improvement to show in schools. Children today need better educational opportunities in their schools in order for them to have a successful future. We interviewed a representative from Psycovery, a unique nonprofit organization that creates STEM lessons and hands-on activities for students lacking education. Additionally, they offer high school advising and counseling and even college application workshops, with an overall goal to inspire K-12 students to pursue STEM careers and higher education. The representative, Ms. Nethra Shah, the treasurer of the Emory University chapter of Psycovery, is part of the team of Emory students like her who can instill science interests among an economically challenged population of students in South Atlanta.
Hi, my name is Nethra. I am a third-year student at Emory University, and I'm also the treasurer of Psycovery at Emory. And Psycovery is a nonprofit organization that works to implement lessons to encourage young students in their development of scientific knowledge, STEM education, as well as their appreciation of the science field. In addition, we offer our services to a wide variety of students, including elementary to high school students. And in that, we do offer different types of workshops. So for our elementary school children, we offer STEM-related workshops that are driven by science education and stuff they might have learned in class, and also offering things they might not be that might not be offered in their school. In addition, for our middle to high school range children, we offer college tours and more college advising workshops to help them get geared up for that time in their life. So overall, we work to help students kind of work and give them opportunities that they otherwise don't get in their normal lives. We usually deal with our students on a semester basis. So each semester, we're usually dealing with about 50 to 100 students. And obviously, that's very variable depending on what schools we're working with and what after-school facilities we're also working with. So, and like I said before, we're working with a variety of children ranging from elementary to high school. So through that, we get to utilize the different varieties of teaching techniques as well as different workshops with them. So like I said before, with the younger students, we're doing more of these STEM workshops where we're implementing more basic level science understanding. So for example, one of the workshops that we do is kind of a layering liquid experiment to show them like the effective density with different liquids. So that's kind of an example of what we're doing with them there. And then in terms of our older children, we're mostly giving them opportunities in terms of college advising. I know in a lot of high schools, we've seen that counseling can be an issue, especially with getting them geared up for college. So what we like to do is kind of give them the opportunity to, in addition, tour the university, so they get to see more of kind of the behind the scenes of how a college student's life works. And in addition to that, they get to kind of give themselves outlook to see and kind of motivation to work towards when kind of completing their education. So overall, we're working to provide opportunities to students, and specifically in the greater Atlanta area with our Emory chapter, to kind of get them geared up for the future and get them more appreciative, make them more appreciative of the science education and what STEM has to offer as well.
Unlike several nonprofits that were severely impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, Psycovery was able to endure. With young minds at the forefront of the organization, they were able to respond swiftly to the problem. When the whole world went into lockdown at the start of 2020, the members of the Emory chapter started to organize virtual workshops for the children. Despite the restriction on hands-on activity for children, they could still grasp the curriculum from online instructors who would conduct the demonstrations and experiments themselves through Zoom.
So during the pandemic, we weren't carrying out our workshops, obviously, like school wasn't even in session, so it was very hard to even conduct that. At most, we were mostly reaching out to schools to see if we could do Zoom-related workshops. We weren't really able to carry out much of what our organization does today during COVID. It was more so planning and gearing for when we do open back up and getting ready and doing more, back behind the scenes kind of foundational work. So it did put a big halter in what we were able to do. And I will say that did lead to kind of the recession of volunteers we did have. But that aftermath, we kind of were able to, like I said, build back from that. And now people are kind of seeing our message and our story and what we're trying to do with kind of implementing these STEM related materials to the children. So in addition to that, also giving them college advice, like it's a very comprehensive experience. So I think it definitely did put a damper. COVID definitely did put a damper, as it did to many other fields, but we were able to definitely bounce back from that.
In the future, Psycovery hopes to help children realize their full potential and to not let their circumstances define who they are as people. Since college students like Ms. Shaw find it incredibly difficult to allocate time for the workshops, volunteers or other normal people like you can also bring an extra set of hands to help in workshops. Through these workshops, Psycovery members and volunteers are molding our nation's future leaders who may one day be able to cure the funding problem that we have in our schools. If Psycovery's goals are fulfilled, then there may be no need for it in the future. Food insecurity is often rooted in poverty, and it occurs when people do not have access to sufficient food or food of adequate quality. Around 10% of households in the United States are food insecure and cannot meet the basic needs for human existence. To solve this problem, organizations across the country provide services and resources to help maintain proper health and combat poverty. One of these organizations, the Community Assistance Center, assists individuals and families experiencing unexpected financial crises from situations such as a job loss or a reduction of income, illness, medical emergency, divorce, or catastrophic situations such as fire or flood. They play a vital role in the cities of Sandy Springs and Dunwoody by preventing hunger and homelessness, providing assistance for basic needs such as utilities, food and clothing, and actively engaging clients to work towards greater self-sufficiency through adult education and career counseling efforts. There is sufficient need for human services in the Sandy Springs and Dunwoody communities. In suburban neighborhoods across the Atlanta region, increasing numbers of families struggling to make ends meet. Like many communities across the country, they are experiencing new challenges related to suburban poverty. The need for assistance among residents of Sandy Springs and Dunwoody continues to increase as the cities grow and living expenses escalate. The CAC is critical in solving this problem, and their outreach efforts have benefited countless families in the area.
One of the things that identifies it and distinguishes us is these interviews that we do initially, where we get to know our clients and what they need. And so it's figuring out how that can, how the needs of the community might change. Right now, our mission will always stay consistent. We are here to prevent homelessness. We are here to prevent hunger. And so it's addressing how that can be done the most effective way possible. Again, I mean, ideally, the needs would go away, and we would find another cause or purpose to satisfy. But right now, I don't see that happening.
I would say, as of last year, we know there are about 20,000 individuals in Dunwoody and Sandy Springs that are in a socioeconomic spot where they could use our help in some way. We serve about 8,000 of them a year, just above 8,000, somewhere between 8 and 10,000. And so we know that we should be serving twice as many people as we serve now. So expanding our services, our current selection of services, to offer it to more people is something that we are actively working towards, to make sure that everyone who does need food and who does need help keeping their house gets that help.
While there are many ways to help CAC and contribute to their impact, the most impactful form of volunteering is the in-person opportunities they offer, as they allow for direct interaction with the community and the individuals at need.
We're very much a volunteer-driven organization. We have about 250 regular volunteers on a monthly basis, and we can always use more, frankly. And that's in addition to, that's the basis, the foundation. Those are the ones that really do the providing and helping the community. But in addition, we also have 75 to 80 between individual volunteers through different organizations, through businesses that are wonderful partners. And then, as you alluded to, money is always fantastic because that helps us with giving financial assistance to prevent homelessness, but it also allows us, we can get food directly
such as
through Atlanta
food,
Community
water,
Food Bank and
shelter,
buy it cheaper than if
clothing.
somebody went to
It's
the grocery
very
store.
devastating because
So
you
the
never
dollar
know where
goes
your next
goes farther than if somebody just went and tried to buy. But those are the two biggest ways, and then it's encouraging their companies and other organizations to come and help out.
I think something that CAC does very well in accepting help from the community and working with the community to provide for our neighbors in need is that we're pretty creative. It's not just one avenue in which you can give. It is whatever help you have to give, we are happy to receive. Generally speaking, there's often moments of synergy that happen in the community that we may not have planned for that do appear, and we love being able to take advantage of those moments and work with the community to produce something amazing. So we do get a lot of that.
She mentioned earlier about the dignity, how important that is, and how important is our client choice mini markets. And I'm thinking about the reference to the can of peaches in particular, that 74% of what we give out is fresh or frozen, and frozen to preserve the shelf life of meat. But that's very important, obviously, for the nutritional aspects. So we're very fortunate that we work with wonderful partners that allow that to happen.
Yeah, we also work with Second Helpings Atlanta. They're a network of volunteers that helps collect donations from local supermarkets and then brings it to food distribution points like CAC. So we have food from Whole Foods, we have food from Trader Joe's, we have food from Publix and Kroger and Costco. These great organizations that are huge, that do a lot of volume with food, that see the need in the community, and when something might go to waste, they work with Second Helpings Atlanta to make sure that that doesn't happen and it gets in the hands of people that really need that food.
First would be processing the donation, receiving it, weighing it, and that's why we can tell you that last year, or on average year, we give out just under 700,000 pounds of food a year. And that is 700,000 pounds of food. And when I first saw that, I thought a comma was misplaced. But it's earth-shattering, and that's, again, a testimony to this wonderful community, to all these wonderful partners that give food. But again, so weighing it, processing means taking it, putting it on the shelf, or potentially restocking our mini markets, and potentially, definitely times purging. We do have to sometimes go through and make sure that everything's fresh out there and able to be eaten by clients. So there's a myriad of different tasks in there.
Yeah, that's something we really focus on, is making sure the quality of everything is high, that everything looks good, that it looks appetizing. We don't put things out that are past their expiration dates. We really do focus on feeding our neighbors like we would feed ourselves. So that's why you see a great selection of products there. And the volunteers, I think, are key to the whole process. There's no way that we could pay enough staff to stock the food pantry and still make the financials work for being a nonprofit. We really want to make sure that as much of our funds as possible goes directly to helping our clients. So volunteer hours are key for us. And in the food pantry, it is one of the best volunteer positions in my opinion, because you get an immediate reward. You see exactly the actions that you do and how they benefit somebody in the community. It's very personal. Checking in and checking out clients is really fun because you get to say hello, meet them, ask how their day is going. It makes it a little more full of camaraderie rather than, asking for help or going, collecting your 3 cans and moving on. It's more of a shopping experience within a community setting, so it really is quite rewarding.
Still, the problem of food insecurity does not appear to be disappearing anytime soon. Because of this, CIC hopes to expand their outreach in order to help as many as possible.
Right. That would be our best case scenario, is to not have to keep growing to address the needs in the community. Since we started off, we were serving just a few dozen families, and to this date, we're serving about 900 families a month through our food pantry programs. Those programs are essential to helping balance a budget with the macroeconomic needs that we're seeing at this time. The inflation, rising cost of pretty much everything, food, gas, rent. If somebody shops at one of our food pantries, we like to call them mini markets. They are a self-choice market. You grab a shopping cart, you choose your own food, you choose what your family eats around your dietary restrictions. They can save up to $175 a week if they're a family of 4, more if they're a bigger family.
Nonprofits like the CAC, as well as Psycovery, Paws Atlanta, and Atlanta Rescue Dog Cafe are able to see a direct impact on the community by not only helping the whole community, but by interacting with individuals to ensure their success and future. These individuals are needed to contribute to the cause and help the community thrive. Without your support, nonprofit organizations would not be able to keep up with growing needs.
We always have volunteers that are needed, and whether that's directly hands-on working with the students or if it's behind the scenes and with organizing these workshops. So more of the work that I do is more behind the scenes and working to kind of organize these workshops, but we also have our volunteer base, which is the people that are actually going to these workshops and directly interacting with the students. So we have about 15 to 20 volunteers a week that kind of go to these workshops and help carry out those workshops. And we also have varying positions related to actually being the ones that are presenting the material to them, to being kind of helping the students hands-on. So we have varying different positions related to that. In addition, if you're unable to come help us in the location we're at, because we're more so located in the greater Atlanta area, we also have the ability to open chapters in other schools, and that's something that we did. So Psycovery is an overarching organization, and we're just a chapter under that at Emory University. So anyone is able to open their own chapter in any institution they're at, whether that's a high school, university. You're able to open your charter up and kind of work with the local communities around you. We work with specifically communities that are more local to us in the Emory community. So it'd be more than possible for there to be something here in Dunwoody as well, or in anywhere across the Georgia area.
One of our most recent programs is our Career Center. It's open to the public, anybody can come in. And this gentleman was coming in, we had already helped him set up an interview, and he was going in for a job interview, but he didn't know what to wear. He didn't have anything to wear. So he comes in, we call up one of our volunteers at the thrift store, and she does a personal styling appointment with him. And to see this gentleman smile when he left, I mean, he was beaming it was so beautiful to watch and see. He couldn't have been happier, and he fortunately got that job. And so it's those kind of experiences that we see, and we see it every day in different capacities.
And don't forget that you can make the same impact. It doesn't matter the extent of the problem, any help at all can bring us one step closer to curing one of our several epidemics. Animal cruelty. A lack of education. food insecurity and poverty. These nonprofits need volunteers, real people who know and love their communities, who have it in their hearts to take action and make a difference. Parents, teachers, and students have the power to make a change. People just like you.